Hello, wealthy, successful, money making traders. This is your trader's friend. Thank you for joining me for another video. Guys, I'm so glad you can be here with me. Today, I'd like to talk to you about trading these more difficult markets. I wake up around 1:45 Central Time and I look for advantages in the market. It used to be that when I would wake up, I'd find a trade after 2 a.m. and I would get into nice pips. I could go to bed and wait for another session to trade. But as of late, it hasn't been this simple. I want to use this USD JPY on the 1 minute time frame, or at least we want to start out there. As an example, this was actually yesterday's price action. So these are the advantages that I'm finding in this market. One of the advantages is at my entry point, then I want to put my stop above or below that entry candle. And I'm also shooting for a particular take profit. So I've been putting in 10 pips worth of profit as take profit lately. If you time your entry right, then your stop is not going to get hit. If you're putting in a take profit, and even though I shoot for 10, sometimes I end up with 5 or even 3, because a lot of times we're not even getting 10 pips worth of profit even after we find the advantage. So here you have my entry time in the market, which is 2 a.m. Now the problem with this candle is, even though you've had this nice run up to the upside, you can see that the market was already moving in a bearish fashion. But this is a nice run up, beautiful run up, but this isn't the time that I'm entering the market. So I'm looking for the advantage once I enter the market. Even though this is above that 200, it's a strong move up. I'm also looking for a strong break and close of that 10 SMA, which you don't get it here. Actually, what you end up with is a stopper candle. So it's a lot of strength in this candle, ending at the top, no shadow, but then it's the stopper candle that follows immediately. This is not a good close. This is not what I'm looking for. This is more of what I'm looking for. You have the flagship with that strong break and close. So once you find that entry, this is a good entry. This also makes for a pretty good entry. This is an excellent entry. This is even a pretty good entry. Once you get that entry, you want to put your stop above that previous candle. How many ever pips you choose, that's solely up to you. As of late, I've just been putting a 20 pip stop loss in just in case anything goes wrong. If the internet stops, if the power stops, if anything happens beyond my control, and the market just shoots up 1,000 pips or shoots down 1,000 pips, at least I'm protected. So if you time your entry right and you have your take profit in place, then that stop never gets hit. So this is going to be the most important thing I'm going to tell you in entering these kind of choppy waters. Be extremely selective about your entry. Let me repeat that. Be extremely selective about when you enter the market. You only want to enter when you find that you have the biggest advantage. And you'll see that we continued on in this choppy. And yes, we're looking at past price action, but this is a real chart. So you'll see for hours and hours, the market just isn't doing anything but just chopping, just chopping. And you started getting these beautiful candles with the long tails. And after that, oh my word, you get what seems to be the end of this really grueling market, because here you have these strong tails from the bottom, strong rejection from the bottom, and then you have this strong move down, which says exhaustion to me, because now we're almost 3 hours into this market. So it's like, yay, it's time to go the other way. Here's that stopper, and you take price the other way. But even after all of this time, you you're just getting at 10 pips worth of profit. You still don't even have 10 pips worth of profit yet once you have your entry. And here You have these nice strong candles, nice strong rejection. But again, I'm looking for that candle with the strong break and close below that 10 SMA, and you also break that 200 SMA. This is just what I look for. So you'll see that price continue to move down. And it runs to the downside. The thing that's suspicious about this is that in these few minutes, you actually have more pips in these few minutes than you have the entire previous 4 hours. So that behavior is suspicious. Let's also go and look at the other advantage that I find in these markets. Now, another thing that I find, sorry, I was scratching my nose and realized I was covering the microphone. But another thing that I find advantageous in these markets is just moving up to a higher time frame. If price is just choppy and crappy, go ahead and move up to a higher time frame, or at least that's where I find an advantage. Just going to a higher time frame, it makes makes it easier to not just be in the market all day and being glued to the market. Even though this is a 5 minute time frame, I can get up and go do something else and come back, peek at the chart 5 minutes later, and know about where I am. So it keeps me from being absolutely glued to the chart. Again, you want your stop above or below your entry candle or the previous candle, and then you want to put in a take profit. That's so important. And again, you're being extremely discriminatory about your entry. Now, this is the end of that move. The reason it's the end of this move is because this is almost 4.5 hours later during the European session. You have a strong move down with little or no shadow. I have no shadow here, but I was doing this for myself when I was studying, but I see it has a teeny tiny shadow and it ends in a stopping candle. Now for me, this candle is more important than the next candle because you have more price action in this one candle than you did all of these previous candles before. So for me, that's extremely suspicious. So watch out for these candles. At the beginning of a trend, this is the candle you want to see. You definitely don't want to see this much strength at the end of a movement because usually it's just a trick trap. So during the New York session, this is where you're beginning to get these moves. But again, you can see is very little pips in these before you end up in all of this time of just chop. You get another good strong break and close, and you just get into this little bitty price action. You don't really get the big move until afternoon. That's when you get the big moves. So for me, these have been more frustrating because the moves are not coming when I expect. And you're finding that you're spending more time in the market looking for these good, strong moves. And if you have a full-time job, you're at the disadvantage because you can't be in the market all day. So that's why it's more advantageous, especially if you work full-time, to just put in take profits and just take the pips off the table that you can. And you may get as little as 20, 15, or even 30 pips during a session, but it's still more pips than you started off with. So you have to be extremely disciplined in these markets, extremely careful, and extremely discriminatory about your entries. Now, this is a beautiful entry. However, you can see that this ends in a stop. So this is simply a trick trap. You have this huge engulfing candle. Your stop needs to be above this. Once this candle is closed out, guys, you don't have that advantage. And also, you're above that 200 SMA. So this is a strong bearish attempt to turn the market around. However, we already know this is just a trick trap. That's all this is. So if price closes the previous candle or even your entry candle, you don't have the advantage that you thought you did. Guys, be extremely careful in these markets. For me, I'm looking for smaller take profits, and I'm being extremely discriminatory about my entries. Guys, I want to remind you that you can absolutely do this. You can be successful at Forex. Have a terrific, wonderful weekend.